We were saying before, physical health. If you don't have physical health, nothing else matters.
Yeah, as soon as you get sick.
But how do you get people to understand that without making them sick?
I think there are certain ways you can talk about it. I don't think that you can really understand it until you've been sick, especially mentally ill. I think it's very difficult to understand mentally ill people unless you've been there. So I think I've done an all right job describing some of the experiences I've had, but only because I'm out of it now. And I think a lot of people who are that sick don't get out of it. So I don't know how you describe it.
I feel like your solution kind of defies modern logic.
Yes.
So you're doing the carnivore diet, and you only eat lamb?
Yeah, so there's the carnivore diet, which is all animal products, and that's the one that you've seen in the news, like eggs, milk, anything that comes from an animal, carnivore diet. I reframed mine as the lion diet, which is insane, but I did that. And that's beef, lamb, or any type of ruminant animal, so animals that have multiple stomachs. Rumen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not any ungulate.
What's that?
Hoofed mammal.
I feel like not any of them. Like horses aren't.
Yeah.
Giraffes are.
Goats?
Yeah.
Giraffes are?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
God, I hope I'm right about that. I'm pretty sure giraffes are a ruminant animal.
But
Yeah.
so you'll eat like beef and
Beef
what?
and lamb. Yeah,
Nothing
elk
else?
sometimes.
Nothing else.
And salt and water. And I reintroduced tea recently.
But you do alcohol from time to time?
Yeah,
Like,
and that just discredits my entire diet.
But
They're like, okay, you're only eating, oh yeah, sure, so you have an autoimmune disorder, but you can drink alcohol.
I think
But it's distilled. So like vodka and bourbon, there's nothing in it. It's distilled like 3 times. Most people probably don't know what distillation is, but it removes all the grain. So I don't have any autoimmune problems from alcohol.
Because I would imagine like fruit breaks down into alcohol in your system, I think. And it's probably really, really good for your
Yeah, but there's a
cardio.
whole bunch of things in fruit that aren't. It's not just like pure alcohol.
Right.
Like vodka, yeah, pretty pure.
Where do you get your vitamin C from?
So there's a tiny bit of vitamin C in meat, a tiny bit. And it turns out if you're not eating any carbs, glucose and vitamin C compete. So if you don't have glucose, you don't use as much vitamin C. So you don't need as much vitamin C. But I've been doing this since December 2017. And the vitamins I was deficient in when I had an autoimmune disorder have recovered.
Since when? What year?
December 2017.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I hear you urinate a lot of the vitamin C out. And maybe that's because the glucose is preventing it from being absorbed.
I have no idea, but they do compete. Yeah, so possibly, if that's what happens.
So let's start from the beginning, I guess. You were sick?
I was sick. I'll give you the like super tight version of it. I was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis in 37 joints when I was 7. I was put on 2 immune suppressants and an anti-inflammatory medication. The immune suppressants I injected, so very serious immune suppressants. When I was in grade 6, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder or possibly bipolar type 2, depending on the physician. And I was put on SSRIs. Grade 8, I started to get chronically fatigued. So I was medicated with Adderall when I was 21 for idiopathic hypersomnia. So I used Adderall just to stay awake. When I was 17, I had my hip and ankle replaced from the arthritis that wasn't kept in check properly with the immune suppressants. Yeah, that's about it. I was also diagnosed with Lyme disease eventually, and I think that's all of them. Yeah.
So how did you come to the carnivore diet?
I started getting this rash called dermatitis herpetiformis, which is an itchy, blistering rash, and it's the skin manifestation of celiac disease, which is the only autoimmune disorder associated with gluten. So I figured, okay, maybe I have celiac disease. I got my genes tested. I have the gene for celiac disease. I was like, I'll cut out gluten just to see. Maybe that's causing my arthritis. And that kind of led me on, I must have read like 1,500, 1,200 articles on autoimmune disorders, gluten link, possible dairy link. And then I went back to school for biomedical science to try and research my disorder because at that point I was so sick. I thought it was going to kill me. My skin had stopped healing from the rash. I'd had 2 joints replaced. My wrist felt like it was going to need a replacement. I couldn't wake up. So I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing with my life because I don't have a life. So I started researching, and then I just decided to look into diet to see if it made any impact. And at that time, I didn't think it would change anything, but I figured I'd rule it out. And first I went to paleo. So like no grains, no soy, no dairy, no sugar, only water, no processed foods. And then when I stopped taking SSRIs, so that worked. That actually worked. My arthritis went away, my fatigue went away, I got off of Adderall, and my depression lifted. And then when I went off of SSRIs, I did that way too rapidly because I didn't know they cause withdrawal. And that's when I ended up on the meat diet because I got sensitive to light and to sound and to heat and to touch and to any amount of carb. I was reacting to everything. So that's when I went down to beef and lamb and salt and water, which was like out of desperation because the antidepressant withdrawal was so awful.
When you first went on carnivore, what did you cut out?
At that point, I actually just went from chicken and beef and fish and lettuce and green leafy vegetables, olive oil, and apple cider vinegar. So I literally just dropped salad at that point because I didn't know you could survive on only meat. So I was like, well, I need some greens. I react the least amount to the salad. So I kept the salad for a long time. And then eventually I was like, I can't live like this anymore because I was having some autoimmune symptoms. I was not on any medication at that point. I was trying to get it under control. And I was like, I'll just do just beef because I know I don't react to beef just for a very short period of time so that I can reintroduce things and monitor my symptoms. And I was keeping track of it on like Excel spreadsheets, my symptoms and everything. And my symptoms went away when I went to all beef. And then when I tried to reintroduce, they came back. So I haven't been able to reintroduce things. I can have tea now, but that's like 3 years into the diet and I introduced tea. I didn't drink for a long time because I was worried alcohol was going to be a problem, obviously.
Did you go to a bunch of doctors and they...
No, at that point, honestly, I'd been doing paleo. When I went to the carnivore diet, I'd been dieting for 2 years, being more and more restrictive. And a year into dieting, after I went off of my SSRIs, I'd been talking to immunologists and just nobody, like my rheumatologist didn't believe me. Like nobody believed me. I barely believed myself. So no, at that point I was like, the medical community does not know how to handle this.
Do you know what breatharians are?
I do.
Yeah. So do you guys know? Do you guys know?
Let's go.
I know.
These are people who
Say
insist
yeah.
they can subsist off of light and air only.
Good for them.
And there was one woman, this is a brutal video, where she claimed that she was a breatharian. She only just absorbed sunlight and breathed to survive. So they were like, okay, we're going to film you for, I think it was like 5 days to see, you survive without eating food. So you can prove that you're not eating or drinking. And she agreed to do it. And she was so dead set on proving this by like day 3 when her like heart levels were through the roof. She was like getting sick. She was dehydrated. They were like, we have to stop now. Like your health is at serious risk. You're getting worse. And so then she said something like, oh, it's the air. Like the air here is bad. It's polluted. We have to go somewhere else. And it didn't change anything. So it's fascinating because you hear stories like that. That's why people probably don't believe you.
Yeah, well, no shit. I wouldn't have believed me either. I didn't even think, no, seriously. Like a BuzzFeed will come out with an article and be like, look at this person. And I'll be like, yeah, I get it. I was like, when I was 22 and people were like, fix your diet. That'll fix your autoimmune disorder. Eat healthier. I was just like, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know how serious this is. Like diet cannot have an impact like that because my joints disappeared, right? Like it's not diet. I didn't think being gluten-free was a thing. I thought that was a fad. I was scoffing at organic stores. I went completely in the other direction. Like I was shocked. I probably walked around with my mouth open for the first year after I found out the diet impacted my health because I really didn't think what I ate mattered at all. So I get it.
Did you see like gummy bears and stuff when you were a kid?
Sour Patch Candy?
Yes.
Holy shit. Sour Keys?
I never had those.
Sour Patch Kids.
You've never had a Sour Key? Mm-mm. Have you had Sour Patch Candy?
Yeah.
They're like
Sour Patch
like
Kids.
worse, more stale, larger versions of Sour Patch Candy.
Great.
Load up.
Dude, Sour Patch Kids.
Oh my god.
best. So much
That was-
candy.
yeah.
Oh.
When I first went to the
don't eat it
paleo
anymore.
diet, that was my first food that I reintroduced because I was like, there's no soy, there's no dairy, no one's allergic to sugar.
But
Right? It was
sugar's not
like
that
for a physical reaction. I was
Right.
like, sugar's not good, but no one's allergic to it. Like, I want my Sour Patch Candy. It did not go well.
the vitamin C thing is what gets me. Like, I guess I could understand, they have, like, there's the keto diet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But keto isn't no carb. It's just low carb. You get some carbs. And
You have way more variety than
20
what I'm
grams,
doing.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But then there's, what is it called? Gluconeogenesis?
Yeah.
Like, where the protein is converted into sugars
Yeah.
for your brain and stuff like that?
Yeah, so you still have a stable blood sugar. Like my blood sugar is usually at, I don't know what it's in, I don't know what it's in. It's usually at around 80 though, which is pretty good. It's not like 50 is pretty low, 80 is pretty good, 130 that's high, and then people go way up from there. But mine's at 80 stably. So yeah, gluconeogenesis from protein.
Yeah, but the vitamin C thing is what gets me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, I don't think people really know.
Yeah.
Like, part of the reason I'm talking about it is because I would like the medical community to take it seriously enough to do some case studies to look into it, because I've seen it help a lot of people, and it sounds unbelievable.
The keto diet I think it's prescribed by doctors for people with epilepsy.
Since the 20s, yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of lost favor because anti-epileptics came out and people stopped using the diet because it was hard to adhere to. But yeah, they've been using the keto diet for a long time, and technically this is a keto diet. Technically, if you wanted to refer to it, it's like a plant-free keto diet.
But keto is way more fat than that.
I was eating a lot of fat initially. Because I thought ketosis was part of the reason it was helping. So it was like add on the fat. And at that point I was still having SSRI withdrawal. So I had a lot of neurological symptoms, and the fat I felt like I needed it. For about 2 years, I was maybe 80% of my calories were from fat. So I was in like high level of ketogenesis, but I don't do that anymore.
We've got a ton of food here. We've got snacks over there with Milk Duds and Skittles or whatever. No, we don't. Actually, we think we do have Skittles and sodas. And like we have these meals. Sometimes when guests come, we have these like easy prep meals. But you actually had like a little rack of lamb or something.
Oh yeah, I full on. Yeah, you guys drove me. You guys drove me to the grocery store. Yeah, and I bought a rack of lamb and then I cooked it.
Yeah, that's legit.
Looked
in the
amazing.
oven. Yeah, it tasted really good too. I ate part of it. Yeah.
Did you do like lifestyle changes in addition to diet?
Not initially. So at first it was just diet, because I'm not one of those, I mean, I'm getting more into it now, but I was never one of those lifestyle like biohacker people. I was really into nootropics. First I was really into drugs, and I was like, how do I drug myself better? So I had this like Tylenol 3 at night, Gravel at night, Adderall to keep me awake. Like I was on like 7 different drugs, and I actually drugged myself enough that I could think clearly enough that I figured it out and got off of all the drugs. So it actually worked out.
Good for you.
Yeah, but I started there, then I went into nootropics, then I went to diet. And then I started, like, when I got a little bit healthier, I was like, oh, okay, managing my sleep actually does help me. Saunas, infrared saunas were a game changer.
Really?
We have one
for my
downstairs.
mood.
No, we don't have an infrared.
No, it's not
infrared,
infrared. It's just
yeah.
Infrared,
steam sauna.
because they don't heat up too much. You can stay in there for a long time and just sweat. That helped me so much when I was trying to reintroduce food and having autoimmune reactions. Infrared saunas, absolute game changer. And now I do like Wim Hof breathing,
Oh, yeah.
ice baths.
Yes.
Like I've gone full swing. I've got my Aura ring, but
What's
initially
it made of?
this,
Yeah.
I don't know, but it has 3 little sensors to monitor
Papa
your
John has.
heart rate.
Oh yeah, I want to get one of those.
We should get
They're
a bunch of
actually
those.
kind of cool. Yeah, they make you really neurotic about how you sleep.
I got the watch,
Interesting.
which
You don't wear
is
it at night,
not the
right?
same, but
Yeah.
it like tracks steps, it tracks calories burned, workout time, and movement per hour.
What kind of watch is that?
It's the Galaxy something or other.
You have an Android Galaxy? Samsung.
Yeah, Samsung.
Oh.
Yeah. So I get every day. It gives me like a little man. Like every hour, if I'm sitting down working on the computer,
It tells you to stand, like the
Yeah.
Apple. The Apple Watch
Right.
does that, right?
a little man will appear and he'll like start doing like deep knee bends, or it'll be like time,
you do
time
that?
to get moving. I don't do deep knee bends, but I'll get up and I'll go walk around. I'll be like, I shouldn't just be sitting here nonstop staring at a screen. So I'll go outside, I'll go check on the chickens, take a 5-minute break, and then go back, and then it's like, good job. And at the end of the day,
That's nice.
because I skate every day, so I'm getting the exercise. I get the 8 hours of sleep. Well, I don't think I sleep for 8 hours, but I sleep enough
You might not
and I
need
move
it,
enough
yeah.
that it gives me little hearts. And then it shows you your days, and you get like a little. It's a foot with like a badge, and it's like you did it. And if you don't
What
do
if
it,
you don't do it? Yeah.
then you don't get your little badge.
Okay, so it's not that harsh,
No,
depending on how badly
It's
you
not like a
take
guy
criticism.
getting
Yeah.
It should
beheaded
though.
or anything.
I think we should actually make an app where it's like you're a loser. Like a little guy pops up and he's
What
like,
are you doing with your life?
Yeah,
My
come on.
dad
What are you
could
doing?
pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort yourself out.
Did you
pick
grow
up the
up with
heaviest
it?
thing you can find and carry it.
Yeah.
Did he just like constantly like organize you into this lifestyle your entire life?
Not really. I think one thing he did that was super beneficial was he said, as soon as I got diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis when I was in grade 2, I remember he sat me down and he said, you can never use your illness as an excuse.
Good for him.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like, which is a serious thing to tell a kid who has arthritis and 37 joints, but it was basically like, this is going to suck no matter what, but if you use it as an excuse, it's going to suck more.
Yeah.
And so I think that was really beneficial to me, and I probably veered in the direction of never using it as an excuse when I probably should have spent a couple days in bed.
Oh.
But I don't have an
So the
autoimmune disorder
But
balance.
anymore.
let's talk about that, because I think one of the biggest problems we have right now as a society is everyone using all of that as an excuse. It's
yeah,
everything.
I know, it's exhausting.
Right. It's I'm a victim for this reason, that reason, or otherwise.
They're told that though. And part of the problem I have with the medical community is when you go in and you get diagnosed. When I got diagnosed, my mom, because she's like the hippie of the family, and she was like, "Can we just change diet?" And they were just like, "Ha ha ha!" They literally just laughed, which is fair because dietary changes are complicated for autoimmune disorders. But I don't know where I was going with that. What were we just talking about?
How people are using their bad lifestyles as excuses for why they can't succeed, or
Yeah, okay. Part of the problem with medical, community is when you go in there, you're diagnosed, they tell you your only hope is us. Your only hope are these medications, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's not your fault. And so it takes all the responsibility away from yourself for fixing it, because you're like, I can't. The authority figures that know what they're doing, they went to school, told me that I can't. And I think if they'd just been like, can't help, good luck, then I would have been like, oh shit, I have to figure this out myself. And I would have gone through all these paths like diet, exercise. I just would have looked. But I think, the schooling system is doing the same thing to people. People are told, you have this mental illness. It's on you. Don't worry, it's not your fault. Like, here's a medication, or you're an outsider, so you deserve some sort of, I don't know, help for being an outsider. Society right now is pathetic.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.